It's the latest scandal in Brazil.
Covid levantam a suspeita de que a operadora de saúde Prevent Senior teria omitido mortes de pacientes num estudo sobre a hidroxicloroquina.
This private health provider is suspected of pressuring its network of clinics to set up a study on hydroxychloroquine. This treatment for coronavirus was championed early on in the pandemic by President Jair Bolsonaro. The company is accused of forcing doctors to prescribe the drug. Walter Correa is a whistleblower. He's meeting with his lawyer. Since they've sued, Walter and his colleagues have been threatened. He fears that the company is going to escape all repercussions, despite strong proof. 9 patients died following the treatment. BRUNA MORATO also uncovered dozens of falsified death certificates.
There's information here that proves that this patient contracted COVID-19, while Prevent Senior denies it.
Don't do the same thing as he did. If you do, you'll see what happens. That's the type of information my colleagues who have remained in the company are sharing with me. They say, they're going to set your career on fire and watch it burn. They forged so-called scientific evidence that recommended early treatment and turned it into active propaganda. This has misled people and contributed to the 600,000 deaths we have now.
Morato believes that Jair Bolsonaro's inner circle, also members of a parallel cabinet charged with managing the health crisis, encouraged Prevent Senior to experiment with the medicine.
We know that the number 3 of the parallel cabinet had conversations with the head of Prevent Senior. He considers him a friend, thanked him for the work he did for the federal government, and told him he did a wonderful job. There's a clear link there.
Since the beginning of the pandemic, the president has spearheaded calls to use a selection of drugs, including hydrochloroquine, which the World Health Organization has said is ineffective. But Bolsonaro persisted, even advocating for the approach as recently as this past September.
Since the beginning of the pandemic, we want doctors to have the autonomy to search for early treatment, as per the recommendations of our Federal Council of Medicine.
A parliamentary commission in the capital has been investigating the president's approach to the pandemic over the past few months. There's a new scandal to denounce in this chamber on an almost daily basis, from the president pushing ineffective treatments to the delivery delays of vaccines and respirators, which the government may have paid over the odds for.
People say the federal government is anti-vaccine, but that's fake news. Vaccines were delivered to states and municipalities. How? Because the federal government bought them and delivered them.
ROGERIO is one of the few commission members close to Jair Bolsonaro. He says the commission's investigations are ideological and political persecution.
The president has committed no crime. There's no proof against him, including for this accusation of inflated bills for vaccines and respirators. Perhaps later on things might be discovered, but for now there's no proof of corruption of any sort. And to judge a president based on a medicine, what he says is up to him. You're free to disagree, but to say that there's proof of corruption that's been sent to the investigative commission, no. If he promoted a medicine, it's because doctors promoted it. Why not hit out at the state governors who bought it and distributed it?
After several months of investigation, the rapporteur of the commission and the vice president say they have collected sufficient proof. They welcomed us to their office, where they're working on the commission's report.
We have so much proof, it's astounding. We've managed to prove the negationist attitude of the president. We've managed to prove the creation of a parallel cabinet that took political decisions, a parallel cabinet that allocated budgets instead of and against the advice of the health ministry.
The first paragraph, Article 267 of the Penal Code, relates to epidemic crime. Those who ignore preventative sanitary health measures can face up to 20 years in prison. Article 283 of the Penal Code covers the crime of charlatanism. There's also the crime of responsibility set out in Article 85 of the Constitution that could lead to the impeachment of the president.
That's a long list.
Oh, but there's more.
The president could stand accused of some 11 crimes in all. The senator's reports will be passed on to the prosecutor general, the only authority that could compel the president to face charges in a criminal court.